Hey, good morning. It is early, and we are preparing to make carnitas for our dinner. And this is an 8 to 10 hour cooking process. We slow cook it in a slow cooker, so I'm getting started early. And what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna take about 6 to 7 pound pork shoulder, right? 6 to 7 pounds. And you can use more if you want, it's not a big deal, but we're gonna take this and we're gonna cut it up into large chunks so that it can cook evenly in the slow cooker. So I'm gonna do that real quick, get it chopped, get it cut up, and then we'll be right back. Okay, we've got it all cut up. Make sure that there's usually a layer of really thick fat on the posterior side of the shoulder. You wanna make sure you cut off that as much as possible. It's not really necessary to be in there. And again, with the bone, get it as best you can, but if you leave a little bit of meat on there, it's not a big deal. But this is what we've got. Chunks, you can see they're fairly good sized chunks here. And there's gonna be some fat in there, so not a big deal. But you wanna trim off that really thick layer, especially if you get a picnic shoulder. Those have a really thick layer of skin and fat on them. You wanna cut that off. So we're going to assemble the spices next, and we'll go through that process. All right, we got all the ingredients in the crock pot, and we are ready to get this thing going. You're gonna put it on low, and you're gonna let it cook on low. Okay, put it on low. And you're gonna leave it, just let it go for 8 to 10 hours. Okay, so we will be back in about 8 hours to do the rest. We're gonna do some other prep for some guacamole and some black beans and some rice that are gonna go with the carnitas. So stick around, we're gonna do that. Then we'll get out the meat and we'll do the next step in the process. All right, hey, it's been about 3.5 hours. I wanna just give you a quick look. Starting to come together. Okay, it's now been a full 8 hours, and we are just about done. I think that the pork is nice and good. Let's take a look at it. Let that steam get out of there. You can see it's cooked down. Lots of juices from the meat and the fats and the vegetables, the onions, and of course the citrus juices that we put in there are now, as you can see, in there. And we're going to let that continue to go while I start the guacamole. Now, I like to keep guacamole very simple. Simple ingredients. Okay, avocados, Roma tomatoes, lime, cilantro, and a guacamole seasoning packet. And that's it. So we're gonna start that now and get ready to start the rice and black beans to go with our carnitas. And we will do the next step for the carnitas, which is taking them out, shredding them before we put them in the oven to broil for just a little bit to kind of crisp up the tips, if you will. So, be back soon. Okay, just a little tip on the mashing. Don't mash it too much. You wanna get it soft, but you wanna have some chunkiness to it too, because when you squeeze in the lime juice, it's going to soften everything up a bit, and so you still want some chunkiness to it, okay? So mash it, but don't mash it too much where it's all smooth. All right, we've got our diced Roma tomatoes and our chopped cilantro in there with our avocado. We're gonna mix this up. After we mix this up, we're gonna add in 1 packet of guacamole seasoning, and then with the lime, okay, we're going to only squeeze one half into the guacamole and mix it up. We're gonna save the other half for when we store our guacamole. All right, we're getting the rice going. I'm not fancy. I just turn on the rice cooker and let it rock and roll, okay? And get you some nice rice, a little bit of rice, some black beans, which I'm not fancy with the black beans either. I'm literally gonna heat up a can of black beans in the microwave, okay? To serve on the carnita itself, on the taco. So cook your rice and heat up your beans. And next, now we gotta take the meat out of the crock pot and put it onto a pan so that we can broil it. And that's the final step for the carnitas. Okay, so as we go to get the meat out, I'm gonna use this deep fryer basket thing so we just get the meat, not the juices. And we're just gonna scoop in there, pull out as much meat as we can, let it drain. Transfer it over to a large plate because we're gonna shred this. Okay, and I'll pick out the bay leaves and the garlic here in just a second. Scoop out another big scoop. Transfer to the plate. Like I said, if you get a little bit of the vegetables and bay leaves, garlic, and onion in there, you can always just pick it out before you shred it. But that's all you should be left with is juice and the rinds from the citrus that we kept in there. So now I'm gonna get out my bear claws and I'm gonna shred up this meat so it's just shredded pork, and then we're gonna stick it into the oven on broil on high for about 5 to 7 minutes, just to crisp up the outer edges and tips to give our carnita tacos just a little crunch, okay? Okay, now that you've got the pork shredded, we're gonna transfer from this plate. The reason I do it on a plate is because I don't wanna scratch my nice baking sheets. I'm gonna transfer the meat from this plate to a baking sheet. We're gonna pop it in the oven to let it broil, to really crisp up those tips and give us a nice crunchiness to our tacos, okay? So I'm gonna do that and pop it in the oven, and it'll only take 5 or 7 minutes. The rice is cooking. While the meat is broiling, I'm going to heat up a can of black beans, and we'll be ready to serve. You're gonna have your toppings or your extras, or can be sour cream, the leftover cilantro that you didn't use with the guacamole, of course the guacamole on the taco, etc. But that's what we're going to be doing. Okay, so the meat is done. I've taken it out and the rice is not quite ready. So what I've done is I've just covered it with some foil and then draped a towel over it. That'll keep the meat nice and warm. It'll also hold in the moisture, okay? Because we did broil it, we got the tips dry and crispy. We want to retain the moisture that was down on the bottom of the pan so that the tacos are still nice and juicy. So when we come back, I'll be assembling a taco and we're gonna dig in.